By now, most of you have seen that video of that stupid bitch crunching on that toast and talking shit about people on food stamps. Well, I grew up on food stamps and she could go herself. I'm so sick and tired of her fucking crunchy mouth. I've never wished a bitch would choke on a piece of toast so fucking hard in my life. As a child growing up in poverty in Kentucky, I got bullied in school relentlessly for being poor. My clothes were shabby hand-me-downs. My first pair of glasses were donated from the Lions Club Foundation and they looked like they used to belong to some 70-year-old man. I was skinny and hungry and my baby teeth rotted out of my mouth from malnutrition and lack of dental care. And the kids made fun of me for that too. My mama would send me to the store to pick up bread and milk, and every time I had to hand those food stamps over to the cashier, I would look around to make sure none of my classmates were watching me. It was embarrassing. But it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. For God's sake, we live in the most powerful fucking country in the world. If we can't help our own citizens, then why the fuck are we helping people in Argentina? I remember my mama used to get us the cheapest shoes she could find, and that was the first time I ever had new shoes. I was probably about 9 years old. Those shoes were made out of nylon, and they had these little stripes on the side, kind of like Adidas, but a much cheaper generic version. And all the kids in school used to call them buddies. They would point at me and laugh in the hallway and say, well, if you lose all your friends, at least you still got your buddies. And all that shit came back to me when I watched that toast crunching bitch sit there and pretend like she's a fucking Christian. Bitch, you don't know Jesus. You ain't nothing like Jesus. But in the third grade, there was a lunch lady named Libby, and she took pity on me because she saw how hungry I was, and she used to put extra food on my tray at lunchtime. One day, she asked me for my phone number, and I gave it to her. My mama got mad at me because the lunch lady called her up and said, I understand that you all are struggling financially, and I would like to help you out with your Thanksgiving dinner. And my mama said, well, we don't accept no charity, lady. And Libby said, please, I'm a Christian. I just want to help you. And she finally did convince my mother to let her come over. And she brought us a big old giant turkey and stuffing and potatoes and beans and everything we could possibly need for a delicious dinner. And I was very thankful. Me and my little brother William gave Libby a big old hug. And we said, thank you so much for making our holiday better. And that's when she asked my mama if she could take me and my little brother over to her house for Christmas. And to my surprise, my mother said yes. Now, Libby and her family lived in the country in a big brick house, and they were definitely middle class, which was a major step up for us. Her house was beautiful, and she had candy dishes all around for Christmas. And she said we could eat as much candy as we wanted. And we did. She had two little boys about the same age as me and my little brother William, and we had so much fun playing with them. They had the most amazing toys. For the first time in my life, I got to witness what it was like to stay in a house with a middle-class family who didn't struggle financially for everything that they had to eat. And while I was envious of her little boys, I was so grateful that they let me be a part of that holiday season. It was also the first time in my life that I ever experienced true Christian love. Libby was definitely a Christian who followed the example of Jesus Christ to love and care about other people. And I'll never forget Libby. I'll never forget that experience. For anybody else out there who's calling yourself a Christian, sitting there eating food while you talking shit about people on food stamps, there's a special place in hell for you.
I am TJ, and this is Life Lessons. That gentleman was singing part of my life, as a kid. And when, like I said, my mom would send us to the grocery store with the food stamps, and like him, looking around, seeing if anybody, noticed me that we knew because people were going to. I have my helper. Um, and this time of year, when I think about, in elementary school, we would want our mom to be able to get us the nice costumes, and she couldn't afford those costumes, and she would make our costumes. And I remember us being hobos. Y'all don't know what hobos is, but look it up. And of course, because everybody else had the fancy costumes, when we wore our homemade costumes, of course, we got teased. We got teased. And into junior high school and high school, because my mom worked, but like you all say, it wasn't enough. And so we got reduced lunch or free lunch. And I remember being embarrassed by that because my friends' parents were middle class, and, they had lunch money and all that kind of stuff. So, and oftentimes you had to go to, I think, a different line when you were on free or reduced lunch. And so kids do as kids do. They would tease us or tease me, you know, and talk about, poor this and poor that. Y'all ain't got enough. And, again, kids being kids, but it still hurt. It hurt. I think, again, paying attention, that inspired me and galvanized me to try to do things differently. And I think that's one of the reasons that parents get so upset with our kids, because we wanted to ensure that they never felt that embarrassment. They never felt that lack. And they never felt a sense of being inferior. And when they come to us with such entitlement and ungratefulness, it does something to us. Because my daughter had all the costumes she wanted, all the food she wanted, all the this, all the that. And going back to the lessons of paying attention to what my mother went through, I think that's why no matter how successful or how much I have amassed far as materialistic things or success, I never look down at other people. I may look down at their behavior because we choose our behavior. But far as a sense of someone being, inferior to me, I've never done that. I've never done that because I remember what that felt like. I remember what that felt like. I never thought too highly of myself. Like if I would see someone working, as a janitor or custodian or cook or fast food, never. Because like my mom taught me, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. And what you do for a living does not necessarily correlate to who you are, your value as a person. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Take that with you.